It is April 28th. Thanks for joining me for the Outlaw Pulpit. I am one day away from turning 51. Where did that come from? Anyways, I want to talk to you about being bored in church, bored with church. I think that's the bigger point, is being bored with church. Um, it's weird that being a pastor for 28 years or whatever it is, 29 years, something like that, you get to a point where you're bored with church. But think about that for a little bit, because it really is true of anything we do in life. There comes a point where you're just bored and you want to move on, you want to do more. This can be in a place that you're the manager of, a place that you're an employee of, the place that you've been at for 20 some years. There just comes a point where you're like, you know what, I'm kind of bored. And how weird is it that this happens even in the church world? That a pastor, me, 20 years at church, and I'm bored. And so I want to talk about that this morning. And how do we get past that? Because there comes a point in every church's life where you're on a mountaintop and you go down to a valley and you're up on a mountaintop again. And there are the plateau stages. And I was sharing with my church yesterday morning that, we're at a plateau stage. There's moments where you just realize we're not growing and we're not dying, but we haven't really done a whole lot. Things actually become kind of mundane. You come to church on Sunday, you sing 4 songs and then the message, and you close with a song, and Wednesday night program for kids and Tuesday night for adults, or whatever it looks like for your church. And I really just started tapping into asking God, show me what we should be doing. Because when a pastor gets bored at a church, that does not mean you should resign and step aside or anything like that. It's just that, you know what, you've been at it for so long that you're starting to want to do more. And it's a dangerous prayer when you say, God, I'm bored, I want to do more, because he'll put something on your plate. And that's the case with us. Yesterday morning, I unveiled a new ministry at our church where we have connections with people that do pallet sales and Amazon stuff and all of those sort of things. And just recently we got 4 what's called mystery boxes from Amazon. And this is where you don't know what you're getting. You're just getting 4 big boxes of Amazon stuff. And it's not items that are broken or don't work or anything like that. They're good items. They're really nice items. And so yesterday morning, we had our kids' church unpack the mystery boxes while I shared a message on the story of Moses and God asking him, what is that in your hand? And the reason I shared that message is because in that story, God asks a simple question of Moses, what is that in your hand? And Moses had an old staff in his hand. He probably had it for years. And God said, throw it down. It turned into a snake. Pick it up, turn back into a staff again. And it really causes a church to sit back and reflect and say, what do we have? What are we equipped with? Every church has something that they're gifted at. Our church, it's hospitality, it's giving, it's outreach. We've done this for 20 years. We're known as the giving church in our city. And so it got me thinking, let's use these connections we have for these Amazon pallets. And I have other ends with food and things like that. And we're starting a new program called Radiant Giving. And what we're doing is we're turning a room in our basement into a room where it's full of food, where it's full of these Amazon pallet products. And like the 4 boxes they opened today, there was a slew of AirPod cases that hold the AirPods. There's dog shampoo, brand new bottles of dog shampoo, new dresses and things like that. Different types of food, different types of gadgetry, all of that stuff that we're going to put in on these shelves. And we're going to, starting this week, begin promoting that to the community and saying that we are here to show the love of God in a tangible way. It's been a big part of our church just to move beyond the thoughts and prayers. Okay. It's good to offer that and say to people, I'm sorry you're going through such a difficult time. Thoughts and prayers are with you. One thing I never understood is good vibes. Thoughts, prayers, and good vibes. What does a good vibe even look like? Quit saying it. I think it's just ignorant when someone says, I'm sending good vibes your way. If you're a Christian, there was nowhere in the Old or New Testament where, and lo, Moses said, I'm sending good vibes to you people. It just never happened. So, but it got to a point where we're just saying we're bored, we want to do more, and God sent people our way, and we're expanding now into what we're doing. So every Sunday, this radiant giving uh, room is going to be open, and we're going to give people things. We're going to show the love of God in tangible ways. So, and what do they have to do to receive these products? It's very simple. Sit through a service, learn about God, hear about God, and then go downstairs and get what you need. No questions asked, no paperwork, just take what you need, be blessed. And I'm really quite excited about this because, it shakes up what we're doing. We've had some program changes and things like that, but it really is a way that more people can get involved in ministry, more people can donate, more people can take, more people can oversee the program, and being down there when people need to look at what we have so that they can take it with them. And we've always been the type of church that have said, thoughts and prayers are good, and we will certainly pray with anybody. That's just a given. But a lot of times people just need something tangible. They need something now. They need food. They need things. They need whatever. And that's what our new ministry is going to do. It's good to sit back as a Christian, as I've said earlier, and say, God, what am I doing? What's going on? Because, the thing that Moses was holding was a staff. It was dead. And a lot of times churches and individuals hold dead stuff or half dead stuff. And we expect the same results over and over and over again. And when that does happen, it's true. It does get boring. It gets old. Christianity should never be boring. It should never get old because there's always people to serve. There's always things we could be doing for the kingdom of God. And it should be exciting. And so I would encourage you that, next time you're looking at your own life and you're saying, I'm bored. The next time, if you're a pastor, you're looking at your church and it's just kind of boring around here, ask God to load the bases for you and see where it goes. See, again, God asked Moses, what is that in your hand? Stop and look at your church and say, what do we have in our hand? What is it that God's doing, that God's loading the bases on behind the scenes that we could tap into and go into another ministry and do some exciting things? For us, it was connections with surplus people and Amazon pallet people and stuff like that. So we're going to use that. I don't know if this is going to go a year, 2 years, 5 years, however long it runs, but there could come a point where it's like, okay, this ran its course and now we're going to move on to the next thing. But it's never a bad thing to sit back and say, I'm bored. I'm tired. I want to do something more. I want to do something new, and watch where God takes you. Now, if you're in a church and you're recognizing it and other people are recognizing it in your church, don't leave the church. Chances are your pastor wants to do more, but he needs somebody to come alongside them to help. This happens in every ministry across the world, that a pastor can only do so much. A pastor can only give so much of his time because many are bivocational. Many have families. Many have different things they need to give their time to. So what do you do when you're in a church and you're sitting there saying, this is boring? Approach your pastor. Talk to him. Don't bail, because what happens is a lot of times the bigger churches just keep getting bigger and the smaller churches remain smaller because people aren't stepping up to do anything. And so go to your pastor, set up an appointment, say, I've noticed things are getting a little dull. I have an idea for this ministry, and see where he takes it. He may say, let's go with it. I love the idea. It's energizing. It's going to bring people into the kingdom. And he could say, no, I don't like it. Let's not do it. If that's the case, he may have good reasons. He may not have good reasons. That's up to you to decide. But nonetheless, Christianity should never be boring. At the very least, there's always serving. There's always ministry to be had inside the church and outside of the church. Make life exciting. Tell people about God. And you know what? In our case, we're using this giving closet to do this. And then really the tangible things are just an on-ramp for these people to hear the gospel message. And isn't that what it's really all about? So something to think about. Don't let your Christian walk get boring. Be inventive. Ask God to show you